The taxi driver looked at her like she was crazy. "You sure this is the right address, miss?" he asked, squinting at the dusty road ahead. Rachel pressed her face against the window, her heart sinking with every passing second. This couldn't be right. The ranch her grandmother left her was supposed to be, well, she didn't know what she expected, but it certainly wasn't this. Broken fences stretched as far as she could see. The main house looked like it hadn't seen a fresh coat of paint in at least a decade. Weeds had taken over what might have once been a garden. A rusted tractor sat abandoned near a barn that was practically begging for mercy. "Yeah," she said quietly. "This is it." The driver helped her with her suitcase, took his payment, and drove away quickly. Too quickly. Like he couldn't wait to escape. Rachel stood there in her designer heels and pencil skirt, feeling completely out of place. The Montana sun beat down on her, and she was already sweating through her silk blouse. She'd been here once as a child, maybe 20 years ago. She remembered green fields and horses running free. She remembered her grandmother's laugh and the smell of fresh bread. But that memory felt like it belonged to someone else's life. Rachel pulled out her phone to call her assistant back in Boston. No signal, of course. She sighed and grabbed her suitcase, the wheels catching on every rock and divot in the dirt driveway. The front door was unlocked. Inside, everything was covered in dust sheets like ghosts of furniture past. The air smelled stale and old. Rachel's chest tightened. Her grandmother had been gone for 3 months, and in that time, Rachel had been too busy with work to even think about this place. She'd planned it all out on the plane. Spend maybe 2 days here, meet with a real estate agent, sign some papers, and get back to Boston by the weekend. She had a huge case starting Monday. This was just a formality. A knock on the door made her jump. She turned to see a man standing in the doorway, backlit by the afternoon sun. He was tall, wearing a worn cowboy hat, faded jeans, and boots that had seen better days. His face was hard to read, shadowed by the hat's brim. "You must be Rachel," he said. His voice was deep, rough around the edges. "Yes, and you are?" "Cole Bennett. I'm the foreman here." "Was the foreman, I guess." He stepped inside, removing his hat. His dark hair was messy, like he'd been working all day. His face was tanned and weathered, probably in his early 30s. There was something guarded in his eyes. "Nice to meet you," Rachel said, extending her hand. He shook it briefly. His hand was calloused and strong. "I wish it was under better circumstances." "What do you mean?" Cole looked around the dusty room, then back at her. "You don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "About the ranch. The debts. The foreclosure notice." Rachel felt the blood drain from her face. "What foreclosure notice?" Cole reached into his back pocket and pulled out a folded letter. He handed it to her. Rachel's hands shook as she read it. The bank was giving them 3 months. 3 months to pay back over $200,000 or lose everything. "This can't be right," she whispered. "It's right. Your grandmother, God rest her soul, she tried to keep this place running. But the drought hit us hard 2 years ago. Lost most of the cattle. Then the equipment started breaking down. She took out loans to keep going, but—" He trailed off, looking uncomfortable. Rachel sank into a dusty armchair, not even caring about her expensive suit anymore. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "She didn't want to worry you. Said you had your own life, your own career. She was proud of you. Talked about you being some big-shot lawyer in Boston." "I'm not a big shot," Rachel said quietly. "I'm just an associate at a corporate firm who works 80 hours a week and hasn't had a real conversation with anyone in months." She didn't know why she said that. Maybe it was the shock. Maybe it was being back in this place that held memories of simpler times. Cole shifted his weight, looking even more uncomfortable now. "Look, I know you probably want to just sell and get out of here. I don't blame you. But I wanted to be straight with you about the situation. No one's going to buy a ranch this deep in debt, and even if they did, it wouldn't be enough to cover what's owed." Rachel looked up at him. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying this place needs work, real work. We need to get some cattle back on the land, fix the fences, repair the equipment. We need to show the bank this ranch can be profitable again. Otherwise—" He didn't finish the sentence. "Otherwise, my grandmother's entire life's work disappears." Rachel finished for him. Cole nodded slowly. Rachel stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see fields that stretched to the mountains in the distance. Even in its neglected state, there was something beautiful about this place. Something her grandmother had loved enough to fight for until the very end. "How many people work here?" she asked. "Just me now. Had to let the other hands go 6 months ago. Couldn't afford to pay them. And you stayed?" Didn't have anywhere else to go. Besides, your grandmother gave me a chance when no one else would. I owe her. Rachel turned to look at him. There was something in his voice, a loyalty that she rarely encountered in her corporate world. What kind of chance? Cole looked away. That's a story for another time. Point is, I know this ranch. I know what it needs, but I can't do it alone. I don't know anything about ranching, Rachel said. I wouldn't even know where to start. I figured. His tone wasn't mean, just matter of fact. But you're smart, right? Lawyers are supposed to be smart. And you've got business sense. Business law, not ranch management. Numbers are numbers. Contracts are contracts. And from what your grandmother said, you're good at solving impossible problems. Rachel laughed, but there was no humor in it. This seems pretty impossible. Cole put his hat back on. It is, but I've seen impossible before. Sometimes impossible just means nobody's been stubborn enough yet. He headed for the door, then paused. I'm staying in the foreman's cabin past the barn. If you decide you want to try to save this place, come find me tomorrow morning. 5 a.m. I'll show you what needs doing. 5 a.m.? Rachel said weakly. Sun doesn't wait for city folks to finish their coffee, Cole said, and then he was gone. Rachel stood alone in her grandmother's house, looking at the foreclosure notice in her hand. She thought about her apartment in Boston, her comfortable bed, her routine. She thought about the case waiting for her on Monday, the promotion she'd been working toward for 3 years. Then she thought about her grandmother, who had raised her every summer until Rachel got too busy with school, then college, then career, who had never asked for anything, who had left her this place knowing Rachel would have to make a choice, stay safe or take a risk, run back to what she knew or fight for something real. Rachel looked around the dusty room one more time. Then she pulled out her phone, hoping to find even one bar of signal. She had some calls to make, starting with her boss to tell him she wouldn't be back on Monday. Maybe not for a while. Rachel woke up to someone banging on the front door. She grabbed her phone. 4:45 a.m. She groaned and stumbled out of bed, still wearing yesterday's wrinkled clothes because her suitcase only had business attire. Cole stood on the porch, looking annoyingly alert. You coming or not? It's not even 5 yet, Rachel mumbled. Cows don't care about your beauty sleep. You got boots? Rachel looked down at her heels from yesterday. No, Cole sighed. What size are you? 7. Wait here. He walked off and returned 5 minutes later with a pair of worn leather boots. These were your grandmother's, might fit. Rachel took them, something catching in her throat. She could imagine her grandmother wearing these, walking these same paths. She slipped them on. A little big, but they'd work. Let's go, Cole said. The next 3 hours were the hardest of Rachel's life. Cole showed her how to check the fences, explaining which posts needed replacing. He taught her how to properly distribute hay for the few remaining cattle. He made her practice opening and closing gates until her hands hurt. You're doing it wrong, he said for the 10th time. Then maybe you should do it yourself, Rachel snapped. I can't do everything alone. That's the whole point. Rachel took a breath. He was right. She tried again, and this time the gate latch clicked properly. Better, Cole said. It wasn't quite a compliment, but she'd take it. By the time they got back to the barn, Rachel's entire body ached. Her hands had blisters forming. Her legs felt like rubber. Cole, meanwhile, looked like he'd just taken a casual stroll. Tomorrow we'll start earlier, he said. Earlier? I think I might die. You won't. Your grandmother was 72 and did this work every day. You're what, 25? 26, Rachel corrected. Then act like it. She wanted to argue, but she was too tired. Instead, she limped back to the house and collapsed on the couch. When she woke up, it was dark outside. She'd slept through the entire day. The next morning, her body screamed in protest when the alarm went off at 4:30. But she got up. She put on the boots. She met Cole at the barn. This became their routine. Every morning before sunrise, every evening until dark. Cole taught her everything. How to recognize when a cow was sick. How to fix a broken fence post. How to drive the old truck without grinding the gears too much. He wasn't exactly warm. Most of their conversations were purely instructional. Hold it like this. Watch your footing there. Never approach a cow from behind. But occasionally, in quiet moments, he'd share small pieces of information. Your grandmother saved this place once before. Back in the 90s, he said one afternoon while they were repairing a section of fence. Everyone told her to sell. She refused. Why? Rachel asked, hammering a nail into place. Said some things are worth fighting for even when it doesn't make financial sense. Rachel paused. That sounds like her. She was stubborn. Runs in the family, I guess, Cole said, and she could have sworn she saw the hint of a smile. After 2 weeks, Rachel's hands had developed calluses. She could wake up at 4:30 without wanting to cry. She'd learned to anticipate what needed doing before Cole told her. She'd even started to understand the cattle, recognizing individual cows by their markings and personalities. One night, Cole knocked on her door around midnight. Need your help. What's wrong? One of the cows is having trouble calving. Come on. Rachel followed him to the barn, her heart pounding. Inside, a black and white cow was lying on her side, clearly in distress. Cole was already rolling up his sleeves. What can I do? Rachel asked. Talk to her. Keep her calm. Talk to her? Animals respond to voices. Just keep talking. Rachel knelt by the cow's head, placing a gentle hand on her side. Hey there, girl. It's okay. You're going to be okay. She felt ridiculous, but the cow's breathing seemed to settle slightly. Cole worked with quiet efficiency, his entire focus on helping the struggling animal. Rachel kept talking soft words of encouragement while watching him work. There was something different about him now. All the hardness in his face had softened. His movements were gentle, careful. Come on, Mama, he murmured to the cow. You can do this. An hour passed. Then another. Rachel's legs cramped from kneeling, but she didn't move. Finally, a calf slipped into the world, wet and shaking. Cole quickly cleared its airways, and within moments the little thing was breathing. She did it, Rachel whispered. Cole sat back, exhausted. His shirt was soaked with sweat, his arms covered in dirt and worse. But he was smiling, really smiling. It transformed his entire face. First time seeing a birth? He asked. Rachel nodded, unable to speak. There were tears in her eyes. It never gets old, Cole said softly, no matter how many times you see it. The mother cow was already nuzzling her baby, making low, comforting sounds. Rachel felt something shift inside her chest. This was real. This mattered. Not in the abstract way that her legal cases mattered, but in a fundamental, immediate way. Thank you, she said, for letting me be here for this. Cole looked at her for a long moment. You've been working hard. Harder than I expected, honestly. When you first showed up in those fancy heels, I figured you'd be gone in 2 days. I thought the same thing, Rachel admitted. What changed? She looked at the calf, now trying to stand on wobbly legs. I don't know. Maybe I needed to remember what it feels like to do something that matters. In Boston, I spend all day writing contracts for companies that don't need my help. Rich getting richer kind of stuff. It pays well, but... She trailed off. But it doesn't feel like this, Cole finished. No, it doesn't. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the calf finally manage to stand and start nursing. The barn was warm and quiet except for the soft sounds of the animals. Can I ask you something? Rachel said. Depends on what it is. Earlier you said my grandmother gave you a chance when no one else would. What did you mean? Cole's jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he sighed. I grew up in foster care. Bounced around between homes. Got in trouble as a teenager. Nothing serious, but enough to get a reputation. When I aged out of the system at 18, I had nowhere to go. Your grandmother found me sleeping in her barn one night. Rachel's eyes widened. She could have called the cops. Should have, probably. Instead, she gave me breakfast and offered me a job. Said everyone deserves a second chance, and some people need a third or fourth one too. How long have you been here? 14 years. This place is the only home I've ever really known. Your grandmother was the closest thing I ever had to family. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. Rachel felt tears building again. She never told me. She wouldn't. That wasn't her way. She just did what was right and didn't make a fuss about it. They stayed in the barn until sunrise, making sure the calf was nursing properly and the mother was recovering well. As they walked back toward the house, the sky turning pink and gold, Cole spoke again. You're getting better at this, you know. The ranch work. Coming from him, it was high praise. Rachel smiled. Thanks. I have a good teacher. Don't let it go to your head. You still drive that truck like you're trying to kill it. Rachel laughed, a real laugh, and was surprised by how good it felt. When was the last time she'd actually laughed? Back at the house, Cole paused. Get some rest. We'll start later today around 8. 8? That's practically sleeping in. Now it was his turn to smile. Don't get used to it. As Rachel watched him walk away, she realized something had changed between them. The wall he'd kept up was starting to crack, and she found herself wanting to know more about the man behind it. She also realized she hadn't thought about Boston in 3 days. 6 weeks had passed since Rachel arrived at the ranch. 6 weeks of early mornings, hard work, and slowly learning a completely different way of life. The foreclosure notice still haunted her thoughts, but at least now the ranch was starting to look alive again. She'd figured out the business side of things during her evenings. Spreadsheets covered the kitchen table. She'd contacted suppliers, negotiated payment plans, and even found a grant program for struggling family ranches. It wasn't enough to solve everything, but it was a start. Cole had noticed the change in her. She caught him watching her sometimes when she was working with the animals, something almost like approval in his eyes. They'd developed an easy rhythm, anticipating each other's movements, communicating with just a look or a gesture. "There's a county fair this weekend," Cole mentioned one morning while they were mucking out stalls. "Thought we might take a few of our cattle. Could be good exposure, maybe find some buyers." "That's a great idea," Rachel said. "I'll work on some materials, maybe some business cards." "Business cards for a ranch?" Cole raised an eyebrow. "Trust me, marketing matters everywhere." The day of the fair arrived bright and sunny. Rachel had bought herself some proper ranch clothes during a quick trip to town. Jeans that actually fit, a simple cotton shirt, and a hat to keep the sun off her face. Nothing fancy, but she felt more comfortable than she ever had in her business suits. Cole did a double take when he saw her. "You look different. Good different or bad different?" "Just different," he said, but there was something in his tone that made her cheeks warm. The fair was bigger than Rachel expected. Livestock competitions, food vendors, live music. The whole community seemed to be there. Cole introduced her to people he knew, other ranchers and suppliers. Rachel shook hands and talked business, surprising herself with how naturally it came. "You're good at this," Cole said during a quiet moment. "Talking to people, making connections. That's basically what being a lawyer is. Just with fewer cows involved," he laughed. A real, genuine laugh. She'd been hearing it more often lately, and each time it made something flutter in her chest. They were watching a roping competition when a voice cut through the crowd. Well, Rachel Anderson, what on earth are you doing here?" Rachel turned to see Derek Phillips, a guy she'd gone to law school with. He was wearing designer jeans that had probably never seen actual ranch work and a smirk she'd never liked. "Hello, Derek. I'm running my grandmother's ranch." "Running it?" He laughed. "Come on, Rachel, you? Playing cowgirl? That's rich." Cole stepped closer, his posture shifting. Rachel could feel the tension radiating off him. "It's not playing," she said calmly. "It's my life now." "Right, sure. For how long? Until you get bored? Until your manicure gets ruined?" Derek was clearly enjoying himself. "Remember how you used to talk about making partner? About living in Boston forever? Now you're shoveling manure in Montana." "That's enough," Cole said, his voice low and dangerous. Derek looked at him like he'd just noticed he was there. "And who are you?" "The hired help?" "I'm her partner," Cole said. "And you need to move along." "Partner?" Derek's eyebrows shot up. "Oh, this is perfect. Rachel Anderson, the ice queen of our law school class, shacking up with a cowboy. Wait until everyone back home hears about this." Cole took a step forward, but Rachel put her hand on his arm. "He's not worth it. Listen to your girlfriend," Derek said. "Though honestly, Rachel, I thought you had higher standards. Then again, maybe this is all you could get." That was when Cole's fist connected with Derek's jaw. Everything happened fast after that. Derek stumbled backward, security came running, and Rachel found herself explaining to a very tired-looking deputy that it was all a misunderstanding. "Your friend threw the first punch," the deputy said. "He's not my friend," Derek whined, holding his jaw. "He assaulted me. I want to press charges." The deputy looked between them, clearly not interested in the drama. "Did anyone else see what happened?" Several ranchers stepped forward. "The guy in the fancy jeans was asking for it," one old man said, talking real disrespectful to the lady. The deputy sighed. "Tell you what, you," he pointed at Derek, "go home. You," he pointed at Cole, "try not to hit anyone else. And you," he looked at Rachel, "keep your boyfriend under control." "He's not my—" Rachel started. But the deputy had already walked away. Derek left, still muttering threats about lawyers and lawsuits. The crowd dispersed, and suddenly Rachel and Cole were alone near the livestock pens. "I'm sorry," Cole said immediately. "I shouldn't have hit him. The way he was talking to you." "You defended me," Rachel said softly. "He had no right to talk to you like that. People back in Boston talk to me like that all the time. I'm used to it." Cole looked at her, something fierce in his eyes. "Well, you shouldn't have to be." Rachel's heart was pounding. They were standing very close now. She could see flecks of gold in his brown eyes, could smell the cedar and sunshine scent that seemed to cling to him. "Thank you," she whispered. The moment stretched between them, charged with something unspoken. Then Cole cleared his throat and stepped back. "We should probably head home, before I get us arrested for real." The drive back was quiet but not uncomfortable. When they got to the ranch, the sun was setting, painting everything in shades of orange and pink. Cole parked the truck but didn't get out right away. "Can I show you something?" he asked. "Sure." He led her up a hill behind the main house to a spot she'd never been before. From the top, you could see the entire ranch spread out below. The mountains in the distance, the creek winding through the property like a silver ribbon. "This was your grandmother's favorite spot," Cole said. "She used to come up here when things got hard. Said it reminded her why she fought so hard to keep this place." Rachel turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. The land wasn't perfect. The fences still needed work. The fields needed reseeding. But there was something beautiful about it, something real and solid and worth protecting. "I get it now," she said. "Why she loved it so much. Do you?" Cole asked. "Because 6 weeks ago you were ready to sell and run back to Boston." Rachel looked at him. 6 weeks ago I didn't understand what this place meant, what it could mean. And now? Now I can't imagine leaving." The words hung in the air between them. Cole took a step closer. "Rachel, I need to tell you something." Her heart started racing again. "What?" "These past few weeks working with you, getting to know you. You're not what I expected. You're strong and smart, and you don't quit even when things get hard. And He paused, looking almost nervous. "I care about you. More than I probably should." Rachel couldn't breathe. "Cole, you don't have to say anything. I know you've got a whole other life waiting for you in Boston. A career, opportunities. I'm just a ranch hand with nothing to offer but a failing piece of land and a lot of hard work." "Stop," Rachel said. She reached up and touched his face, feeling the rough stubble under her palm. "You're wrong about something." "What?" "I don't have another life waiting for me in Boston. I have a job. That's not the same thing. Here I have—" She struggled to find the words. "Here I have something that feels like it matters. And you're a big part of that." Cole's hand came up to cover hers. "Are you sure? Because once we start down this path, I'm not good at doing things halfway." "I'm sure." He leaned down slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But Rachel didn't want to change her mind. When his lips met hers, it felt like coming home. The kiss was gentle at first, then deeper, full of all the things they'd been too afraid to say. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "I meant what I said," he murmured. "I don't do things halfway." "Good," Rachel said. "Neither do I." They stood there as the stars began to appear overhead, holding each other and watching the night settle over the ranch. For the first time in her life, Rachel felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. The bank wouldn't wait forever. The ranch still needed work. But tonight, in Cole's arms, everything felt possible. And when they finally walked back down the hill hand in hand, Rachel knew with absolute certainty that she was never going back to Boston. This was home now. Cole was home now. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. 3 weeks had passed since that evening on the hill. 3 weeks of stolen kisses between chores, of hands brushing as they worked side by side, of lingering looks across the dinner table. Rachel had never felt anything like this before. They'd fallen into a new routine. Cole would come to the main house for dinner each evening, and they'd sit on the porch watching the sunset, talking about everything and nothing. He told her stories about her grandmother, about the ranch's history, about his dreams for what the place could become. Rachel found herself sharing things she'd never told anyone, about how lonely she'd been in Boston, how empty her life had felt despite all her success, about how her parents had pushed her toward law school when she'd wanted to study environmental science, about how she'd spent years becoming someone she thought she should be instead of who she actually was. You're finding yourself now, Cole said one evening, his arm around her shoulders as they rocked on the porch swing. That's what this place does. Strips away all the nonsense and shows you who you really are. And who am I? Rachel asked. He kissed her temple. You're someone who's stronger than she thinks. Someone who cares deeply even when she tries to hide it. Someone who's exactly where she's meant to be. The ranch was improving too. They'd bought a small herd of cattle with money from the grant Rachel had secured. The fences were repaired. They'd even hired 2 part-time workers to help with the daily operations. It wasn't enough to save them yet, but it was progress. One Saturday evening, Cole suggested they take a break from work. Let's do something normal people do, he said. Like go into town for dinner. Normal people? Rachel laughed. Are we not normal? We wake up at 4:30 and talk to cows. I'm not sure that qualifies. They drove into town and had dinner at a small restaurant. It felt strange and wonderful to be out together, like a real couple on a real date. Cole held her hand across the table, and Rachel felt like a teenager experiencing her first romance. Except she'd never felt like this as a teenager. She'd been too focused on grades and college applications. Her few relationships had been practical, convenient, emotionally safe. This was different. This was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. After dinner, they drove back to the ranch under a sky full of stars. Cole parked the truck but didn't move to get out. The radio played softly, some old country song about love and second chances. Dance with me, he said suddenly. Here? In the truck? No. He got out and came around to open her door, helping her down. Then he took her in his arms right there in the driveway, and they swayed to the music coming from the truck's speakers. Rachel rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Everything felt perfect. Too perfect. A small voice in her head whispered that she didn't deserve this, that she'd somehow mess it up. Come back with me, Cole murmured against her hair. To my cabin. Just to talk, I mean, unless you want more than that. Rachel's heart started pounding. She pulled back to look at him, seeing vulnerability in his eyes that made her chest ache. I want to. They walked hand in hand to the foreman's cabin. It was small but neat, with a simple bed, a worn couch, and walls covered in photos of the ranch through the years. Cole lit a fire in the fireplace even though the night wasn't that cold. They sat on the couch, close but not quite touching. The air between them felt electric. Rachel, Cole said softly, I need you to know something. This isn't casual for me. What I feel for you, it's serious. It's forever kind of serious. Rachel felt tears prick her eyes. Cole, I know it's fast. I know we've only really known each other for a couple months, but when you know, you know. And I know. He leaned in to kiss her, and Rachel kissed him back with all the emotion flooding through her. The kiss deepened, becoming more urgent. His hands were in her hair, hers clutching his shirt. They shifted on the couch, bodies pressing together, and Rachel felt heat building inside her like nothing she'd ever experienced. Then Cole's hand moved to the buttons of her shirt, and reality crashed in. Rachel pulled back suddenly, breathing hard. Wait! Cole immediately stopped, concern filling his face. Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't, I just... She stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. I need to tell you something. Okay. He stood too, giving her space but staying close enough that she could feel his warmth. You can tell me anything. Rachel took a shaky breath. This was it, the moment where everything could change, where he might look at her differently, might not want her anymore. I've never done this before, she said quietly. Cole looked confused. Done what? Been with someone on a ranch? No, I mean, I've never been with anyone, ever. I'm 26 years old and I've never... She couldn't finish the sentence. Understanding dawned on Cole's face. Oh, Rachel couldn't look at him. I know it's weird. Most people would think something's wrong with me. But I was always so focused on school, then my career, and the few relationships I had, they never felt right. I never trusted anyone enough to... And then time passed and it became this thing hanging over me and... Rachel, Cole interrupted gently. He stepped closer, tilting her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing weird about it. You're not disappointed. Disappointed? He looked genuinely shocked. Why would I be disappointed? Because I don't know what I'm doing. Because it'll be awkward and probably terrible and... He kissed her, cutting off her spiral of anxiety. When he pulled back, his eyes were intense and serious. Listen to me. If you choose to trust me with that, it would be an honor. Not a disappointment. An honor, do you understand? Rachel felt tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm scared. I know. That's okay. We don't have to do anything tonight. Or tomorrow. Or until you're ready. He wiped her tears away with his thumb. I meant what I said earlier. This is forever serious for me. I'm not going anywhere. You really mean that? I really mean that. Rachel, you could tell me you never want to do anything more than hold hands and I'd still want to be with you. Because it's you I care about, not what you can give me. Something inside Rachel's chest cracked open. All the walls she'd built over the years, all the armor she'd worn to protect herself started to crumble. She'd spent so long being strong, being independent, never needing anyone. But maybe needing someone wasn't weakness. Maybe it was just being human. I want to, she whispered. Eventually. When it's right. I've just never felt safe enough with anyone to want it before. But with you, I feel safe. Cole pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was something precious. Then we'll wait until it's right. Until you're sure. And when that day comes, whenever it is, I promise I'll make it good for you. I promise I'll take care of you. They stood there for a long time, just holding each other. The fire crackled in the fireplace. Outside, an owl hooted in the darkness. Stay tonight, Cole said. Just to sleep. I'll take the couch, you take the bed. I don't want you to be alone right now. Stay with me, Rachel said. In the bed. Just holding me. Is that okay? That's more than okay. They lay down together on top of the covers, fully clothed, wrapped in each other's arms. Cole's steady breathing and heartbeat slowly calmed Rachel's racing thoughts. Thank you, she whispered into the darkness, for understanding, for not making me feel broken. You're not broken, Cole murmured, pressing a kiss to her forehead. You're perfect exactly as you are. And Rachel? Yeah? When you're ready, whenever that is, you won't just be my first. You'll be my only. I'm choosing you for keeps. Rachel's throat tightened with emotion. I'm choosing you too. She fell asleep in his arms, feeling safer and more cherished than she'd ever felt in her life. And for the first time, she didn't question whether she deserved it. She just accepted it. Accepted him. Accepted this beautiful, terrifying, wonderful thing growing between them. Outside, the stars wheeled overhead, and the ranch settled into peaceful silence. Inside the cabin, two people who'd found each other against all odds held on tight, knowing that whatever came next, they'd face it together, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Rachel was in the barn checking on the new calves when her phone rang. She almost didn't answer when she saw the Boston area code, but something made her pick up. Rachel Anderson, she said. Rachel, it's Brian, her former boss. Rachel felt her stomach drop. Brian, hi, what can I do for you? I'm calling because we miss you. The firm misses you. That Henderson case you were working on. The client specifically asked for you back. Rachel leaned against the barn wall. I'm not coming back, Brian. I told you that 2 months ago. I know. But Rachel, be realistic. You're wasting your potential on that ranch. You're a brilliant lawyer. You could make partner in 3 years. I don't want to make partner. Everyone wants to make partner. I don't, not anymore. There was a pause on the other end. Is this about a guy? Because if it is, you need to think clearly. Don't throw away your career for some cowboy. Rachel felt anger flash through her. This isn't about a guy. It's about me finally doing something that matters. Shoveling cow manure matters? Yes, actually, it does. More than helping rich corporations get richer. Rachel, I'm trying to help you here. Don't burn bridges you might need to cross again. After she hung up, Rachel stood in the barn for a long time, her hands shaking. She'd been so sure about her choice. So why did Brian's call rattle her so much? That evening, she was quieter than usual. Cole noticed immediately. Something wrong? He asked over dinner. Just a weird call from my old boss. Nothing important, but it wasn't nothing. Over the next few days, Rachel found herself thinking about Boston more. About the career she'd walked away from. The safety net she'd abandoned. The bank still hadn't approved their loan modification. What if they couldn't save the ranch? What if she'd given up everything for nothing? Then 5 days after Brian's call, a car pulled up to the main house. An expensive car, the kind that looked completely out of place on a dirt ranch road. A man stepped out wearing a suit that probably cost more than Rachel's entire wardrobe now. He was handsome in that polished corporate way. Perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect everything, Rachel, he said warmly. You look different. Rachel's heart sank. Tyler, what are you doing here? Tyler Bennett had been her boyfriend for 2 years in Boston. Practical, ambitious, emotionally safe. They'd broken up 6 months before her grandmother died, and Rachel hadn't missed him at all. I came to see you, Tyler said. Brian called me. Told me you were throwing your life away out here. I had to see for myself. Brian had no right to do that. He's worried about you. We all are. Tyler looked around at the ranch with barely concealed disdain. Rachel, this is crazy. You're a city girl. What are you doing playing farmer? I'm not playing anything. This is my life now. For how long? Until the money runs out? Until you realize you miss real restaurants and culture and civilization. Cole appeared from around the barn, wiping his hands on his jeans. He took one look at Tyler and his expression hardened. Who's this? Tyler asked. Cole Bennett. I run this ranch with Rachel. Bennett? Tyler's eyebrows rose. Any relation to me? Because that would be quite a coincidence. No relation, Cole said flatly. Common name. Tyler turned back to Rachel. Can we talk? Privately? Rachel glanced at Cole, who gave a slight nod and walked away, though she could see tension in every line of his body. What do you want, Tyler? I want you to come home. Look, I know things ended badly between us. I wasn't ready for the commitment you wanted, but I've been thinking and I made a mistake. We made sense together. Made sense? That's romantic. I'm being practical. We're both lawyers. We understand each other's careers. We come from the same world. And Rachel, I'm prepared to offer you something. He pulled out a folder from his car. My firm is handling a development deal. They're looking to buy large properties in Montana for a resort project. I could get you $3 million for this place. $3 million, Rachel. You'd never have to work again if you didn't want to. Rachel felt like she'd been punched. $3 million. It would solve everything. More than solve everything. Think about it, Tyler continued. We could move back to Boston together. I'd propose properly this time. We could have the life we always planned. I never planned that life. You did. Don't be stubborn. This ranch is drowning in debt. You're fighting a losing battle. Take the money, come home, and let's start over. After Tyler left, promising to stay at a hotel in town and give her time to think, Rachel sat on the porch steps feeling numb. $3 million security, a way out, but a way out of what? The life she'd built? The happiness she'd found? Cole found her there as the sun was setting. He sat beside her but didn't speak at first. He offered to buy the ranch, Rachel said finally. $3 million. Cole's jaw tightened. That's a lot of money. Yeah. Would solve all our problems. Yeah. Silence stretched between them. Rachel could feel Cole pulling away even though he hadn't moved. Is that what you want? He asked quietly. I don't know what I want. It was the wrong thing to say. She knew it the moment the words left her mouth. Cole stood up. I think I should go. Cole, wait, no, you need to think. Really think? Because I can't compete with $3 million and a fancy lawyer who fits into your old world. His voice was rough. I've got nothing to offer you but hard work and uncertainty. Maybe he's right. Maybe you belong back there. That's not fair. Fair? Cole laughed bitterly. What's not fair is me falling in love with someone who might leave. But that's on me. I knew from the start you were temporary. I never said I was temporary. You didn't have to. He started walking toward his cabin, then stopped and turned back. For what it's worth, Rachel, these past few months with you have been the best of my life. I hope you find what you're looking for, even if it's not here. Rachel watched him go, tears streaming down her face. She wanted to run after him, to tell him he was wrong, that she wasn't leaving. But she couldn't, because she didn't know if that was true. That night, she lay in her grandmother's bed, staring at the ceiling. Tyler's offer sat on the nightstand. $3 million, security, a return to normal. But what was normal? Working 80 hours a week at a job that left her empty? Dating someone she liked but didn't love? Living in a city where she felt anonymous and alone? She thought about Cole, about his laugh, his gentle hands with the animals, the way he made her feel seen and valued, about waking up before dawn and working until her muscles ached and feeling like she'd accomplished something real. She thought about her grandmother, who'd fought for this ranch even when it didn't make financial sense. Some things are worth fighting for, she'd said. Was this worth fighting for? Was Cole? Rachel picked up her phone and saw a missed call from Tyler. Then she saw a text from Brian. Take the deal. Come home. Home. Where was home? She walked to the window and looked out at the ranch. The barn silhouetted against the starry sky, the fields where they'd worked side by side, the hill where Cole had first kissed her, and she knew. She'd known all along, really. She'd just been too scared to admit it. This was home. Cole was home, but when she walked to his cabin, the lights were off. She knocked anyway. No answer. She tried the door. Unlocked. Inside, the cabin was empty. His truck was gone. On the table was a note in his rough handwriting. Gone to clear my head. Don't wait up. Take care of yourself, Rachel. She sank into his chair, holding the note, breathing in the cedar smell of him that lingered in the cabin. She'd hurt him. She'd made him doubt what they had, and now she had to find a way to fix it. But first, she had to prove to herself that she was all in, that she was choosing this life, not running from her old one. Rachel pulled out her phone and typed a text to Tyler. No deal. This ranch isn't for sale. We're done. Then she called Brian. Stop calling. Stop sending people. I'm not coming back, ever. She sat in Cole's cabin until dawn, waiting for him to come home, planning what she'd say, how she'd prove to him that she was staying, that he was enough, that this life they were building was everything she wanted. When his truck finally pulled up, she stepped out onto the porch. Cole's face was tired, guarded. I turned him down, Rachel said before he could speak. The offer, the money, all of it. I'm staying. Because you feel obligated? No, because I love you. The words hung in the air between them. Cole went very still. And because this is my home now, Rachel continued. Not Boston, here with you. And I'm sorry I made you doubt that. I'm sorry I wasn't sure when I should have been. Cole crossed the distance between them in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. Say it again, he whispered. I love you. I choose you. I'm staying. Thank God, he breathed. Thank God. The week after Tyler left, Rachel and Cole fell back into their rhythm. But something had shifted. They were closer now, more certain. Cole no longer held back his affection, and Rachel stopped second-guessing every decision. The bank had finally agreed to meet about restructuring the loan. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. Rachel prepared documents, ran numbers, and practiced her pitch. They had a real shot at saving the ranch. Then the weather forecast came. Major storm system moving in, Cole said, looking at his phone with concern. Could be bad. Really bad. How bad are we talking? Rachel asked. Bad enough that we need to get all the livestock to shelter. The newer calves especially. They won't survive a night in freezing temperatures. They spent all day preparing, moving cattle, reinforcing the barn, securing anything that could blow away. The sky grew darker by the hour, heavy clouds rolling in from the mountains like a bruise spreading across the sky. By evening, the first drops of rain had started. By nightfall, it was a downpour. You should get inside, Cole told Rachel. They were both soaked through, exhausted from hours of work. Not without you. Someone needs to check on the animals every few hours. I'll sleep in the barn. Then I'll sleep in the barn, too. Cole looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew better. Instead, he just shook his head and smiled. You're stubborn, you know that? Learned from the best. They made a makeshift camp in the barn office with blankets and a propane heater. The storm raged outside, wind howling like something alive and angry. Rain hammered against the roof so hard it sounded like bullets. Around midnight, Cole went to check on the cattle. He came back with worry etched on his face. We're missing one. Shadow, the mare. I think she's still in the far pasture. Rachel's heart sank. Shadow was one of their oldest horses, gentle and sweet. In this weather, she'll die out there. I know. I'm going to go get her. Not alone, you're not. Rachel, don't even try. I'm coming. They put on rain gear and headed out into the storm. The wind nearly knocked Rachel off her feet. She'd never experienced weather like this. The rain was so thick she could barely see Cole even though he was right beside her, holding her hand in an iron grip. The walk to the far pasture took twice as long as it should have. Every step was a battle against the wind. Lightning split the sky, and in its flash, Rachel saw trees bending nearly horizontal. There, Cole shouted over the storm, pointing. Shadow was huddled against a fence, shaking. They approached slowly, not wanting to spook her. Cole got a lead rope on her, speaking softly to her even though the storm drowned out his words. That's when they heard it, a crack like a gunshot. Rachel looked up just in time to see a massive tree branch breaking free, falling straight toward them. Move, Cole shoved Rachel hard. She hit the ground, rolling. The branch crashed down right where she'd been standing. For a terrifying second, she couldn't see Cole through the rain and darkness. "Cole," she screamed, "I'm here. I'm okay." He appeared out of the darkness, still holding Shadow's lead. They got the horse moving, heading back toward the barn as fast as they dared. Rachel's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. When they finally got Shadow into the barn safe and dry, Rachel's legs gave out. She sat down hard on a hay bale, shaking. Cole knelt in front of her, taking her face in his hands. "You're okay. We're okay. You could have been killed. That branch. But I wasn't. We're both fine." Rachel threw her arms around him, holding on tight. She'd never been so scared in her life. The thought of losing him, of that branch hitting him instead of the ground. "I can't lose you," she whispered. "I can't." "You won't. I'm not going anywhere." He pulled back to look at her. "Do you understand now why I said this life isn't easy? Why I warned you? I understand. And I don't care. I'd rather face 100 storms with you than have one safe day without you." Something in Cole's expression shifted. "You really mean that?" "I really mean that." He kissed her then, hard and desperate and full of all the fear they'd both felt. When they pulled apart, both breathing heavily, his eyes were intense. "Marry me." Rachel blinked. "What? Marry me?" "I know it's crazy. I know we haven't been together that long, but Rachel, life is short and unpredictable, and I don't want to waste another second. I love you. I want to build this life with you. I want forever with you." Tears streamed down Rachel's face, mixing with the rain still dripping from her hair. "Yes, yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to all of it." Cole kissed her again, lifting her off the ground and spinning her around. They were both laughing and crying, soaked through and exhausted, but happier than either had ever been. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside the barn, everything felt right. They spent the rest of the night checking on the animals, stealing kisses between tasks, making plans for a future they couldn't quite believe was real. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean and bright. The damage wasn't as bad as they'd feared. Some downed branches, a section of fence that needed repair, but all the animals had survived. The ranch had survived. They walked back to the house hand in hand as the sun rose, painting everything gold. "I don't have a ring," Cole said suddenly. "I don't care. You deserve a ring, a proper proposal. That was pretty proper to me."
"You asked, I said yes."
"That's all that matters." Cole stopped walking and turned to face her. "Rachel Anderson, you are the most amazing woman I've ever met. You're brave and stubborn, and you make me want to be better. You took a chance on this failing ranch and on me, and I promise I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it." "I could never regret it," Rachel said softly. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." They made it back to the house and collapsed on the couch, too tired to even take off their wet clothes. Cole pulled Rachel against his chest and she listened to his heartbeat steady and strong. "We should probably tell people," Rachel murmured sleepily. "Eventually. Right now I just want to hold my fiancé." Fiancé. The word sent a thrill through Rachel. She was engaged. To Cole. To this incredible, frustrating, wonderful man who'd somehow seen past all her walls and loved her anyway. "Cole? When I said you were my first, I meant in every way. Not just physically. You're the first person I've ever really let in. The first person I've ever trusted completely. The first person who's ever made me feel like I'm enough exactly as I am." Cole's arms tightened around her. "You're more than enough. You're everything." They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other, while the ranch came back to life around them. Birds started singing. The sun climbed higher. The cattle wandered back into the fields. When they woke up hours later, there was a voicemail from the bank. Rachel listened to it with Cole's arm around her waist, her heart in her throat. The loan had been approved. They had 18 months to prove the ranch could be profitable, but they had a chance. "A real chance. We did it," Rachel whispered. "No," Cole corrected. "You did it. Your business plan, your grant applications, your pitch to the bank. You saved this place. We saved it, together." Cole kissed the top of her head. "Together. I like the sound of that." They spent the rest of the day repairing storm damage, but everything felt lighter now. The weight they'd been carrying for months had lifted. They had time. They had each other. They had a future. That evening, they climbed the hill behind the house to the spot where they'd first kissed. The view was even more beautiful after the storm. everything green and fresh and alive. Your grandmother would be proud, Cole said, of what you've done here, of who you've become. Rachel thought about her grandmother, about all the sacrifices she'd made to keep this ranch running, about the love she'd poured into every acre. I hope so. I feel like I'm finally understanding what she tried to teach me all those summers, about what really matters, about fighting for the things and people you love. She knew, Cole said. That's why she left the ranch to you. She knew you'd find your way here eventually, that you'd find yourself, and you, and me. As the sun set over the mountains, Cole held Rachel close, and she knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged, not in spite of the challenges, but because of them. The hard work, the uncertainty, the storms, it was all part of something bigger, something real. She'd spent years building a life that looked perfect from the outside but felt empty inside. Now she had a life that was messy and unpredictable and absolutely perfect, and it was just beginning. 3 weeks after the storm, Rachel woke up feeling different. Not sick exactly, but aware of her body in a new way. She and Cole had been engaged for those 3 weeks, and every day felt like discovering something new about each other, about themselves. They'd fallen into an easy domesticity. Cole had moved into the main house, and they'd turned it into a real home. Fresh paint on the walls, new curtains, the dust sheets finally removed. It felt alive again. That morning, Rachel found Cole in the kitchen making coffee. He'd started doing that, waking up a few minutes early just to have it ready for her. Small gestures that spoke of love more clearly than words ever could. "Morning," he said, kissing her softly. "Sleep okay?" "Better than okay." Rachel took the offered mug, wrapping her hands around it. "Cole, I've been thinking." "Dangerous," he teased. "I'm serious. I've been thinking about us. About everything. And I'm ready." He looked confused for a second, then understanding dawned. "Ready?" Rachel nodded, feeling her cheeks warm. "Tonight. If you still want to. I mean, we're engaged now, and I love you, and I trust you completely, so. Yeah. Tonight." Cole set down his coffee and pulled her close. "Are you absolutely sure? Because there's no rush. We have our whole lives, I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything." He rested his forehead against hers. "Then tonight. And Rachel, I'm going to make it good for you. I promise." The day passed in a blur of normal ranch activities, but everything felt charged with anticipation. Rachel was nervous and excited and terrified all at once. She'd spent so many years thinking something was wrong with her for waiting, for not feeling ready with anyone else. But Cole made her feel safe. More than safe, cherished. That evening, after dinner, Cole took her hand and led her upstairs. He'd lit candles around the bedroom, making it warm and romantic without being too much. "You did all this?" Rachel asked, her voice catching. "Wanted it to be special." "You deserve special." What happened next was tender and slow and everything Rachel had hoped for. Cole kept his promise. He was patient, attentive, making sure she was comfortable every step of the way. There were awkward moments and nervous laughter, but mostly there was love. Afterward, lying in his arms, Rachel felt tears on her cheeks. "Did I hurt you?" Cole asked immediately, concern flooding his voice. No. You were perfect. She struggled to find words. "I'm happy. I didn't know I could feel this happy." Cole held her closer, pressing kisses to her hair. "You're not just my first love, Rachel. You're my only love. The only one I'll ever want." "You were my first everything," Rachel whispered. "And you'll be my only everything, too." They lay there talking until late, sharing dreams and fears and hopes for the future. It felt like something had shifted between them, a new level of intimacy and trust. The next morning, over breakfast, Cole brought up something he'd been thinking about. "What if we expanded the ranch?" he said. "Not just cattle. What if we did something more?" "Like what?" "Therapy programs. With horses. I've been reading about it. How working with animals can help people dealing with trauma, anxiety, kids with disabilities. Your grandmother helped me when I needed it. What if we could do that for others?" Rachel felt excitement building. "That's actually brilliant. We have the land, the facilities, and your experience working with troubled kids, and your business skills, your legal background. We could make it work, Rachel. We could build something that really matters." They spent the next few weeks researching, making plans, reaching out to therapists and organizations. Rachel used her legal skills to navigate the licensing requirements. Cole worked on training protocols and facility improvements. The local community got involved too. When word spread about what they were trying to do, volunteers came forward. A retired therapist offered to consult. A construction company gave them a discount on building an accessible stable. It reminded Rachel of what her grandmother used to say. Good things draw good people. One afternoon, while Rachel was going through her grandmother's old files, she found something unexpected. A letter from the lawyer who'd handled the estate. Inside was information about a trust fund her grandmother had set up years ago, specifically designated for ranch improvements. $50,000 that had been sitting there waiting. Rachel ran to find Cole. Look at this. It's enough to build the therapy center, to buy the equipment we need. It's like she knew, like she planned for this. Cole read the letter, shaking his head in amazement. She always did think 3 steps ahead. With the trust fund and a new business plan, they went back to the bank. This time, the loan officer was genuinely impressed. The therapy program would bring in steady income while maintaining the ranch's agricultural roots. You've really thought this through, the officer said. I'll recommend approval for the additional funding. Walking out of the bank, Rachel felt lighter than air. Cole swept her up in a hug right there on the sidewalk, spinning her around while she laughed. We're really doing this, she said. We're really doing this. That night, Cole pulled out a small box. I know I said I didn't have a ring, but I wanted to do this right. Inside was a simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing flashy, but beautiful in its simplicity. It was your grandmother's, Cole explained. The lawyer had been holding on to it. She left instructions that if I ever found someone I wanted to marry, I should give this to her. She said any woman I chose would be worthy of it. Rachel's hands shook as Cole slipped it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. She knew, Rachel whispered. Somehow she knew we'd end up together. Maybe. Or maybe she just knew that this place has a way of bringing the right people together. They set a wedding date for the fall, after the therapy center would be built but before winter set in. Nothing fancy, just a small ceremony at the ranch with close friends in the community that had supported them. Rachel's parents called when they heard about the engagement. They were confused, concerned, convinced she was making a mistake. But Rachel didn't let it shake her. She knew what she had with Cole, what they were building together. That was all that mattered. The summer passed in a blur of hard work and happiness. The therapy center took shape. They hired their first staff members. The ranch was thriving in ways Rachel never could have imagined when she first arrived. One evening, sitting on the porch swing with Cole's arm around her, Rachel thought about how much had changed. How much she'd changed. Do you ever regret it? Cole asked, as if reading her mind. Giving up your old life? Not for a second. That wasn't a life. It was just existing. This is living. Even with the 4:30 wake-ups and the cow manure? Rachel laughed. Especially with the cow manure. Though I could do without the 4:30 wake-ups. Liar. You're up before the alarm now. It was true. She'd become a morning person without even trying. Just another way the ranch had changed her. Cole? Rachel said softly. Yeah? Thank you. For seeing me. The real me. Not the lawyer or the city girl or any of the other things I tried to be. Just me. Cole turned to face her, his expression serious. You want to know what I see when I look at you? I see someone brave enough to start over. Someone who chose love over security. Someone who works harder than anyone I know. Someone who makes me want to be better every single day. You make me better too. Then we're even. As the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Rachel felt a profound sense of peace. This was home. Not the house or the land, but this feeling, this love, this life they were building together. She'd come to Montana expecting to spend 2 days sorting out an inheritance. Instead, she'd found herself. She'd found purpose. She'd found love. And she'd found that sometimes the best things in life are the ones you never planned for, the ones that scare you and challenge you and change you completely, the ones worth fighting for. Ready to go inside? Cole asked as the last light faded. Rachel looked at the ring on her finger, at the man beside her, at the ranch spread out before them in the gathering darkness. Yeah, she said, let's go home. Because that's what this was now. Not her grandmother's ranch. Not a failing property in Montana. Not a temporary escape from her real life. This was home. This was real life. This was everything. 6 months had passed since that conversation on the porch. 6 months of building, growing, and watching their dreams take shape. The therapy center was officially open, with 3 families already enrolled in the program. The ranch was profitable for the first time in years, and tomorrow was their wedding day. Rachel stood in her grandmother's bedroom, now her bedroom, looking at her dress hanging on the closet door. It was simple, cream-colored, nothing like the elaborate gown her mother had wanted her to wear, but it was perfect for a ranch wedding. There was a knock at the door. "Come in." Cole's Aunt Patricia entered carrying a small box. She was the closest thing Cole had to family, having been friends with Rachel's grandmother for decades. "Your grandmother asked me to give you this on your wedding day," Patricia said. "She gave it to me years ago, said I'd know when the time was right." Inside the box was a letter in her grandmother's handwriting. Rachel's hands trembled as she opened it. "My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, it means you've found what I always hoped you would. Not just the ranch, but yourself. And maybe, if I'm right about a certain young man I've been praying for, you found love too. I knew when you were a little girl that you were special, so bright, so determined. But I worried that you'd spend your whole life trying to be what others expected instead of who you really were. That's why I left you the ranch. Not because I needed someone to take care of it, but because I knew it would take care of you. This place has a way of stripping away pretense, of showing people who they really are. I hope it's done that for you. I hope you've discovered that you're stronger than you thought, braver than you believed, capable of more than you imagined. And Cole, I know I'm making an assumption here, but my old heart tells me I'm right. That boy needed a home, and I gave him one. But he needed love more, and I always knew that would take someone special. Someone like you. Take care of each other. Take care of this land. And remember that the best things in life are the ones we fight for, the ones we choose every single day. I'm so proud of you, my darling girl. Live fully. Love deeply. Be happy, all my love, Grandma." Rachel was crying by the end. Patricia handed her a tissue. She knew, Rachel said. She knew everything. She had a way of seeing what others couldn't. It's a gift that runs in your family, I think. That evening, there was a small dinner at the ranch for their closest friends. Cole had spent the day helping set up, only leaving when Rachel physically pushed him out, insisting it was bad luck to see the bride the night before the wedding. Rachel lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The phone call about her grandmother's death. The decision to come to Montana. The first time she saw Cole. Every choice, every moment had led her here. She thought about what her grandmother wrote. About fighting for the things worth having. About choosing love every day. That's what she was doing tomorrow. Choosing Cole, choosing this life. Not because it was easy or safe or what anyone expected, but because it was right. Because it was real. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and beautiful. Patricia helped Rachel get ready, along with 2 other women from town who'd become friends over the past months. "You look beautiful," Patricia said, adjusting Rachel's simple veil. Rachel looked at herself in the mirror. She did look different from the woman who'd arrived here months ago. Her skin was tanned from working outside. Her hands had calluses. She stood differently, more grounded, more confident. But the biggest change was in her eyes. They looked happy, truly, deeply happy. The ceremony was set up on the hill, the spot where Cole had first kissed her. Simple chairs, wildflowers everywhere, the mountains as a backdrop. It was small and intimate and perfect. Rachel's parents had come, though her mother kept making comments about what a quaint affair it was. But Rachel didn't care. The people who mattered were there. The community that had embraced her. The families from the therapy program. The ranch hands they'd hired, and Cole. He stood at the makeshift altar in a simple suit, his eyes locked on her as she walked up the hill. There was no traditional music, just the sound of wind in the grass and birds singing. Rachel had insisted she didn't need anyone to give her away. She was giving herself, freely and completely. When she reached Cole, he took her hands, and she could see tears in his eyes. "You're beautiful," he whispered, "so are you." The officiant, a local pastor who'd known Rachel's grandmother, began the ceremony. But Rachel barely heard the words. She was too focused on Cole, on the way he looked at her like she was his entire world. Then it was time for their vows. They'd written their own. Cole went first, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "Rachel, when you showed up here in your fancy heels and business suit, I thought you'd last maybe 2 days. I was wrong about that, and I've never been happier to be wrong. You're the strongest, bravest, most stubborn person I know. You took a chance on this place and on me, and I promise to spend every day of my life making sure you never regret it. You were my first real love, and you'll be my only love. Today, tomorrow, and always. Now it was Rachel's turn. She took a shaky breath. Cole, you saw me when I couldn't see myself. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You taught me that the best life isn't the easiest one or the safest one, but the one that makes you feel alive. You gave me a home not just in this place but in your heart, and I promise that I'll choose you every single day, in the easy times and the hard ones, when the sun is shining and when storms come. You're my first love, my only love, my forever love. Do you have rings? The pastor asked. They'd had simple bands made by a local jeweler. As Cole slipped the ring onto Rachel's finger, joining her engagement ring, he said softly, "Forever, forever," Rachel echoed, putting his ring on. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Cole, you may kiss your bride." Cole cupped Rachel's face gently and kissed her as the small gathering erupted in cheers. It was a kiss full of promise, of hope, of love so deep it made Rachel's heart ache. The reception was held in the barn they'd cleaned and decorated. There was food from local restaurants, a playlist of country songs, and more laughter than Rachel had heard in her entire life before coming to Montana. Cole pulled her onto the makeshift dance floor for their first dance. As they swayed together, he whispered in her ear, "No regrets? Not a single one. Not even about the 4:30 wake-ups?" Rachel laughed. "Okay, maybe one regret." They danced with the guests, ate too much cake, and celebrated until the stars came out. Rachel's parents left early, still not quite understanding their daughter's choice, but Rachel didn't let it dim her joy. As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Cole took Rachel's hand and led her up the hill. "Away from the party, where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." At the top of the hill, he'd set up a blanket and pillows. They lay down together, looking up at the sky full of stars. "Remember the first night we stargazed up here?" Cole asked. "When you told me about my grandmother helping you. When I started to see past the grumpy cowboy exterior. I wasn't grumpy. You were extremely grumpy." Cole laughed and pulled her closer, maybe a little. "You scared me. All this feeling, all this wanting. I'd never felt it before. Me neither." Rachel traced patterns on his chest. "I spent so many years thinking something was wrong with me because I never felt this way about anyone. Now I realize I was just waiting for you." "Same," Cole said softly. "Every foster home, every disappointment, every hard day, it all led me here, to you. To this." They lay in comfortable silence, listening to the last sounds of the party below, feeling the cool night air. "Cole," Rachel said eventually, "Yeah? Thank you. For what?" "For waiting for me. Not just in the physical way, but in every way. For being patient while I figured things out. For loving me even when I was scared." Cole rolled over to face her, his expression serious in the moonlight. "Rachel Bennett, you are the love of my life. My best friend. My partner. There's nothing to thank me for. Being with you is the greatest gift I've ever received." Rachel felt tears on her cheeks again. Happy tears. The kind she'd never cried before coming here. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too. Always and only." They stayed on the hill until late, talking about their future. About expanding the therapy program. About maybe, someday, having kids who'd grow up running through these fields. About growing old together on this land they both loved. Eventually, they walked back down to the house hand in hand. Their house now. Their home. Inside, Rachel looked around at the life they'd built. The photos on the walls. The boots by the door. The coffee maker set to brew at 4:30 in the morning. "Happy?" Cole asked. Rachel thought about her old life in Boston. The empty apartment, the endless work hours, the feeling that something was always missing. Then she thought about this place, this life, this man. "Happier than I ever knew was possible," she said. They went upstairs together, to the room they now shared, to the bed where they'd hold each other through countless nights to come, to the life they'd chosen, the love they'd found, the future they'd build together. Outside, the ranch settled into peaceful silence. The cattle in their fields, the horses in their stalls, the land that had seen so much and would see so much more.